because the Western media, which was the Al Jazeera, the CNN, they used to come up with more of predictions, and Russia kept, doing propaganda and everything. So it made it, dicey, 50-50. But close to 2 to 3 weeks, for this to happen, I started having a doubt. And I was there, and then, I received a call from my big brothers that the fuel is not safe, so I have to leave the country. At first, I told them, oh, no, I can't, because, I have to be there with the people. But along the line, I felt like it's getting, tensed, and I received some, notification from some military friends, Ukrainian military friends, giving me kind of updates and everything that, if you have a huge sums of money in your account, you have to be withdrawing some, and those basic tips.
Right.
So I felt I had to leave. So I think, unfortunately, like my first flight, I even missed it, but still I had to.
Oh, you missed the first one?
Yeah.
Did you have to pay any penalty or buy a fresh ticket?
I had to cancel it and
rebook it.
Yeah.
And so you lost the first one?
I lost almost 50% of it.
Oh wow.
Interesting. Now, did you, for example, share this bit of worrying news that you were getting from your sources with some of your compatriots?
Yeah.
And what was their reaction?
Yeah, everybody was alert because we were, hoping to get fast notification from, Foreign Affairs Ministry, but I feel there was a bit of lack of negligence there because, they delayed to me. Because if we had received the notification earlier, we could have, done something about it before the airports were shut.
I see. Doc, what is your reading of all what's happening? You studied in China, a powerful nation. What's your reading of what's happening?
Thank you very much, and a good morning to your listeners. I think it's a very difficult situation in Ukraine. Interestingly, 48 hours ago, we had a meeting with the executives, the president of the Students' Union in Ukraine was there. And finally, we're not even looking at evacuation as an option 48 hours ago. But things
just 2 days ago.
Yes.
And evacuation was not on the table.
No, it was not at all.
Why was it not?
Well, like he said, the threats were there. The international media were raising concerns here and there. But again, you always feel that Russia will always tell you the international media hates them. So, although rumors were going around, we did feel that there were other things to look at. For instance, although evacuation may come on at a point in time, but the first thing is to ensure the students are safe, is to get to the major stakeholders, our Foreign Affairs Ministry and the embassy in Switzerland, to make sure that they've been able to, I think they did a whole data collection for all the students in Ukraine.
Right.
So we had to take these steps and then prepare the grounds for whatever will happen. Unfortunately, about 12 hours or so after that, things escalated quickly. And so we have to get to this point we are. It's very devastating for the students.
Have you connected with some of the students?
Yes.
What have they been sharing with you?
It's very bad. This morning, most of the students have been moved to the shelters. And I think we've sent some of the videos in. The issue with the shelters, when I spoke to them, there are no washrooms there. There are no beds. So you see
shelter?
Yes, most of the students.
So that's what we are seeing on our screens at the moment.
Yeah, so the students probably in their bags, they may have just water and little food that they've taken, maybe their blanket to put on the ground or curtains, as you can see. And this is where they would be till God knows when this whole issue is resolved. It's very, very, very bad on the grounds in Russia.
The honorary consulate from here to Ukraine, Mr. Kiche, he says evacuation is not an option at this time. What do you say?
Like you said earlier in the presentation, the airspaces have been shut down. But again, when you monitor the news, you realize that the citizens of Ukraine and other internationals are moving by land to neighboring countries like Bulgaria, Poland, and co. What happens is that, of course, I think they belong to the same family of the Schengens, so they can move in. But our citizens cannot move. However, with diplomatic ties, we think that we can get into contact with these nations because we don't know when this thing is going to end.
Right.
You've seen the videos. How long are they going to be there? Nobody knows. So if it's possible that we evacuate them by land, just like how the normal citizens are doing, to these nearby countries where they will be safe, at least we can house them there or think of finally moving them to Ghana. I think we should be able to. The land I mean, the borders are still open for travel by land, and people are using it. So it's just the fact is that they don't have the visas to go to Poland, to go to Bulgaria, and the nearby nations. So it has to be something from the diplomatic community where the students are allowed to travel to these nations.
Now, sorry, go ahead.
So Philip Bobie Ansah, he's the president, National Union of Ghanaian Students in Ukraine. He should have joined us this morning, but currently or presently, he's part of the people who are being moved to the shelter. So it's been a little difficult to get through to him because we're hoping that he could give us first-hand information as to exactly what's going on right now. So once we are able to get into contact with him, we'll put him on Zoom so he tells us exactly what's going on. But I just wanted to ask you, where have they been taken to right now presently? Is this in Kyiv?
Can I chip in?
Oh, yes, please.
Okay, so almost every city has about a number of shelters.
Okay.
So Kharkiv, for instance, where I was, I think in total there are about 60 bomb shelters, and including the underground subway.
Okay.
So, and I mean, the underground subway, some can go there, and then some too have been asked to, I mean, descend down when they hear the siren for on third consecutive, I mean, the third
So when
time,
you hear siren for the third consecutive time, it
you
means
have
that you
to-
should rush down.
Yeah.
Means something is coming to hit.
So you have
Oh,
to,
so it means something is coming to hit.
So you have to rush down.
Okay, but geographically, how far are these places from where the heat is right now?
Okay, so now Kharkiv is, I mean, Kyiv is the main place where the heat is ongoing. But now almost all the entire side, I mean, it's dicey because some cities we thought it was in the western side, and I mean, we can run there. Those cities now are also experiencing that, including cities like Ternopil. But the major cities is the Kharkiv, Kyiv, Dnipro, and then Sumy. Which, I mean, just last night at around 7, a base just close to one of the students' hostel, they bombed it. So, I mean, it was a scary situation.
Wow.
And from Kharkiv to the Belgorod border, which is about 25 kilometers, I mean, so you could see it's quite close.
The Foreign Affairs Ministry here issued a circular that suggests that students in Ukraine should move to shelters and also to states, you know,
Let's just say safe houses.
Safe houses, that's what they put it.
Yeah.
For you, is it realistic, Mr. General Secretary? Was that a realistic circular?
I think even that one, we had to mount pressure on them because when we landed, we had to start some media conversation because we knew, I mean, we know our country. If we decide to go it diplomatically, we are not going to get results. And people are there struggling, so we had to set the ball rolling. And yesterday, we were able to meet, I mean, the ambassador protocol at the Foreign Affairs, and then he also discussed it with the minister. And then I think in the afternoon, the minister assured us that they were going to discuss it on the cabinet, I mean, at the cabinet meeting. But then we didn't stop there. We also moved to the Parliament House to also, I mean, tender in some 1 or 2, but still today too, we'll go there.
You'll meet again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before you come in, Kojo Pobi has been waiting on Zoom. He is joining us from Russia. Kojo, can you hear us this morning?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, how are you feeling? Tell us, are you sympathizing with your other colleagues in Ukraine at the moment?
Yeah, I'm highly sympathizing with them. It's very sorrowful and it's very sad. It's actually pathetic because if you speak to them on the ground, you realize that the growing fear is terrible. And you know, sometimes fear alone can even kill you before any other thing. So it's very sad. It's a very sad time for us now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting though. Now, sad time it is indeed, but I don't know if you're comfortable answering whether or not you think Russia is right in launching this attack.
That will be a very, very difficult question to answer, but I think I would want to stay clear.
You just want
on
to be
that
safe
question.
where you are, correct?
Exactly. It's very important to stay clear.
Again, did you see this coming? Did you see this attack on Ukraine coming up?
We never expected it, but we thought it was just going to be these conversations here and there, throwing tantrums here and there, but it actually looks like within the last 48 hours, it's really a reality now.
America has been speaking, and so has NATO. For you as students in Russia, this kind of puts some equal pressure on you, even though your situation may not be as precarious as those in Ukraine. What are you preparing for?
Okay, so for us, America is speaking, NATO is speaking. It's affecting us because the sanctions are great. We're having problems. Everybody has to go withdraw money because there are going to be sanctions on the banks. It will be difficult to access Visa cards and MasterCard. So, yes, this afternoon we have an emergency meeting with the mission, with the embassy. We need to draw a map and see the way forward. We need to prepare for any eventuality because it doesn't look too good on the ground.
Yesterday, we saw some Russians thronging the streets and actually protesting and literally begging Vladimir Putin to put an end to all of this. Did you, by any chance, or are you guys by any chance or by any means joining this sort of protest?
No, we have asked all our students to stay indoors, and because for the protest, a lot of people were arrested and all that. So we've asked our people to just stay calm, stay indoors. If you have lectures, you go for your classes and you come back home. It's not necessary to get involved with these political fights because they have their reasons. Vladimir Putin has his reasons for doing whatever he's doing. So I think that Ghanaian students need to stay clear of and allow them to do what they want to do.
Are you certain that this directive to your students will apply to everybody? There are people who might have lived in Russia for maybe 5, 6, 10 years doing multiple studies. So they may have acclimatized to the system and they may have been thinking at this point that they are African Russians.
I think at this point, everybody will stay clear because, yes, no matter how long you stayed in Russia, I've been in Russia for 7 years, but I don't think I would risk myself going out there. And I don't think that others, even those in the Ghanaian communities who have Russian passports, I don't think they are willing to go out. They are even ready that if, for instance, there's to be an evacuation, they even want to be the first to go out there. So I don't think it's safe for anybody.
Great. Now, Mr. General Secretary, I'll come back to you again. So you have made your demands clear to our government, but then you say, we know our government. What exactly did you mean when you say we know our government?
I mean, when I say we know our government, I mean, both functions. I mean, if you don't start media conversations, I mean, diplomatically, they don't like it. Yes, they don't like it. So
say that again. If you don't start media conversations,
they won't attend to you diplomatically.
So there must be some sort of media influence there before they take the matters up.
Exactly.
Wow.
Do you share that sentiment, Doc?
I think basically the media is an important tool in development, and so the voice goes out loud when it's the media. Meetings, you try to arrange meetings here and there, response is very poor, but when it reaches to the media, then of course everybody sits up and pays attention to it. So I think in this whole thing we need to reach out, just like what happened in China some 2 years back. I think we are back to the same point again. My only concern is that we should be proactive, like the president in Russia is saying. Very soon there are banks. Yesterday we heard of sanctions here and there, banks and all that.
Big banks and elite families and all that.
So are we going to wait till the point where we can say, okay, we cannot evacuate our students in Russia? What's the, like you said, the roadmap for the students in Russia? At what point are we stepping in? They are calm, everything is fine, they still go for lectures. But what is the long-term plan for the students in Russia? I want to talk of the issue of the shelter. People feel shelter is special buildings for them. No, the shelters are underground. Normally, because of this weather issues in the European and the Western world, you see in their buildings, they have these underground places. So this is where they are calling the shelter. It's not like especially built buildings to house them. Let's not forget Ukraine. We are talking about 40 million people. So it's not possible to house those people. So we can see from the videos. They are just buildings underground that they have to go for their safety.
Prince, before you came, what was the temperature? Do you remember?
It was around -6, -7.
So, Johnny, I see they are wearing jackets right now.
Exactly.
And so these shelters, you may have never been there, but I'm presuming it's a little warmer in the shelters because it's underground.
Not really. Some of them are.
Can really be cold?
Yeah.
Yeah, based on the location.
Wow.
For a shelter like this, what's on the screen right now, what kind of protection do they have?
Okay, so it's designed in such a way that, I mean, when even they blast it, you are underground, you are safe.
So the building falls off to the first floor or the ground floor. So you are underground, and so basically you are safe.
So that's your only safety?
Yes.
But apart from that, everything else is... Mr. Bobby, let me come to you now. So are you, for example, in constant touch with a consulate or mission to say, can we prepare for the worst? Because we saw what happened in China when coronavirus hit. Literally, our people were abandoned until, like the General Secretary saying, we spoke about food and monetary support and all of that before they were giving. What kind of conversations are going on now between you and a mission here and even in Russia?
Okay, yeah, we are in constant conversations with them. I think maximum every 2 hours we are in constant communication, because at this point we need to see the clear way forward for this, because we don't know when any eventuality will occur. So we need to know what we are doing. We have full database of all our students and all Ghanaians here. We are speaking to the embassy. In the event of an evacuation, what are we going to do? How are we going to go about it? Is the government of Ghana ready on standby for that? But I can assure you that the missions in Moscow, they are highly prepared for any eventuality. So I think that the communications have so far been very good.
I see. Well, Mr. General Secretary, I'll come back to you again, because you left not so long ago.
Yeah.
When you first came down as General Secretary and leader of, community of students in Ukraine, what was the first thing that was running through your mind? I want to get intrinsic and find out.
I mean, at the point I feel a bit safe, because I mean, I'm not close to the zone. But then what came in mind was, how about my people? And I had to act on it. I mean, get in contact with the nukes here, and then we working something around to, start some convo. And then, yes, we are on it, and we are likely to even meet the Parliamentary Select Committee on Foreign Affairs.
So were there other colleagues of yours who were also trying to come back home just like you did before you left?
Yeah, even I think I knew, I know about 4 or 5 people who wanted to depart in, that was 2 days ago. But they got to the airport, and then
flights had been grounded and all that.
Everything, flights were cancelled.
I interviewed Okujeto Ablakwa here about a week ago or so, and I put this question to him regarding Russia and Ukraine, possibility of this situation happening, and asked him whether or not evacuation was possible at the time. And he said he had met the deputy ambassador here, and he had given him assurance that nothing of the sort was going to happen. Do you see betrayal?
Yeah, so yesterday, for instance, when we met him, I put it to him that, yes, we felt disappointed to see such comment from him. And then he was like, yes, he admits, because, the ambassador didn't give him the real info. So that was why. And, he apologized for that.
So I come to you, Doc. When COVID-19 hit as students in China, you literally were abandoned for some time until after you spoke and appealed, help came to you. As a Ghanaian who perhaps is on scholarship out there studying to come back to give to your nation, when those things happen, what do you guys think?
It's very disheartening. Just like in China, I think in Ukraine, some countries evacuated their citizens.
Yeah, we had notifications from, countries like Morocco sending in notifications that if you are not doing anything necessary, You just have to leave the territory and everything, but nothing from our side. So,
From Ghana.
So,
yeah.
so it's a similar thing that happened, I mean, in China, where some nations saw and then evacuated their citizens. It's this happening. Let's remember that some of the students, they went few months ago, some as young as 18 years. The videos that you are seeing, there are some that are even not 18 that have to go through this.
Wow.
And that tells you the trauma they are going through. As GUCS, Global Union of Ghanaian Scholars, the umbrella body for the students in diaspora, what we've tried to do is to reach out to the executives in Ukraine, try to make ourselves available for them. Of course, we have some clinical psychologists, medical doctors among us, make ourselves available to psych them, to talk to them. But that is just a bit of the issue. No matter how you talk to somebody, if the person doesn't feel that he or she's life situation is safe, of course, it wouldn't. That is why we have to take it to the next level. To say talking to them is not enough.
Which is the next level?
The next level is to involve the major stakeholders. We need to have a clear roadmap because day in, day out, things are getting worse. Yesterday, by this time, I think it was just about go out and get some food stuff. Some didn't even get that. By the time they got to the malls were all crowded out. So who knows what will be happening this evening or tomorrow morning. So I think that we need to have a clear roadmap on what will happen if things don't get any better soon.
But has there been any communique from these universities you study at, the management of these?
So some schools, including my school, about a week or two ago, they announced that if you feel you are not safe, you can leave. And then there's an option for online studies. And then, I mean, some of us jumped on it. And then, but they gave, I mean, some conditions that you have to make sure you pay your tuition fee.
Exactly. So that's what I wanted
Before
to
you
ask.
leave.
That yes, what happens to tuition fees, and if you pay, is there a guarantee that just in case you're not able to take online classes, if all this settles down, are you able to go back maybe after a year or two to continue? What are the options?
Yeah, so far my school just only gave a date that up to 1st April, which I mean, I knew it was not realistic because I knew definitely they were going to extend it. So I mean, few days, for instance, all the online lectures have been on hold.
Okay, even online.
Yeah, because I mean, our professors were complaining that the network is not stable. So even like a few days, that was yesterday, for about the past 2 hours, there was no internet connection.
But why would they even ask them to pay their fees before you leave?
Exactly, because you're in dire straits.
Yeah.
You're looking for money to board a plane.
Yeah, but because it's part and then it's on a contract we sign, so you have to be.
The terms and conditions applied. Mr. Benjamin Boateng is joining us from Ukraine. He is the PRO for the Students' Union in Ukraine. Ben, thank you very much for joining us this morning. Time code is different though, but what's the situation now? What can you share?
Well, the situation on the ground is that as we move on, news keeps coming. You know, as at should I say 7 a.m. this morning, we heard that the Ghanaian student, there were a lot of people moving from the various cities into the western part of Ukraine, specifically Lviv and then Chernivtsi, because Lviv is close to Poland and then Chernivtsi is close to Romania. So more people had the hope that if we are able to get to these two cities, then we can push and then get into these countries. And we also heard that Poland had opened its borders, ready to receive people. When you get into the country, you have maximum of 15 days. As to whether you are continuing, as in you are leaving the country to your resident country or whatever you are doing, you just have the maximum of 15 days. And so that basically caused a stir. A lot of people try to, charter buses and then get to these places. That's basically is what has happened so far.
The traffic situation is neck-breaking. It's a thick maze. Yeah. Now you are suggesting that people have the option of moving out via on road transport. Is it that easy as you say it?
No, not necessarily. I mean, if the country is in a state of emergency, that means that the airspace is not working. No flight in and out of the country. Of course, major transport services also in the country are not working. So you would get to know that even if before you can get the bus, you would have to toil, and then before you can get the bus, and even getting the bus, you are not going to get it at a good price. Something that is 500, you are looking at 3,000 right now. Ooh. Because of the competition. So it's difficult to get a bus. Now, when you have gotten a bus, the route itself is also another problem. So you realize that it's, like you said, it's a thickness, it's something that is interwoven, and it's tough right now for people moving from different cities into these two cities I mentioned earlier.
Where are you perching? Shall I say that now?
I'm in Sumy. I'm in the eastern part of Ukraine.
So you are away from the action, literally.
I'm actually in the action.
Wow.
But you don't appear like somebody in the action because you have a wardrobe behind you, nicely ironed clothes. You are smiling. You're just being a PRO.
If you say I'm just being a PR, I'm just being a human being, because regardless, if I start to wail, it will not change the matter. The best thing is to stay put and try to get yourself covered, and also try to communicate with others and see what is happening. We need to help ourselves. I mean, fear is not the answer to the situation. So it's not about trying to portray a certain attitude of leadership. It's about being you now and trying to get the best out of the situation.
The understanding we get is that the evacuation centers, or if you like the shelters, do not have places of convenience. You know, we saw the videos, people standing around. They look dejected, demoralized, and frustrated. Have you been speaking to them, and what have they been saying to you?
Yes, of course. Like you said, these are places that, if you look at the history of the Soviet Union during these wars, these are places that people went to find shelter and safety from attacks by people. So, of course, you realize that these places are not going to have that five-star appearance. This is a place for safety. So, of course, it's and these are old places, so you expect that kind of architecture and appearance. So people are worried, but I think that the safety is even more important than what you can do now. So whether or not it's dejected, we just have to take it in the way it is, and then hope that we can be safe in these places.
Are you happy with the engagement so far with Ghanaian authorities and, of course, their reps in your country of residence at the moment?
No, if I say I'm happy, we are not happy, because I think that, this thing started for some time, and then we contacted the relevant authorities, but the response was not forthcoming, to the point that now, this is now in a state of emergency. And then now we have heard, like the General Secretary was saying, that talks were with relevant authorities and everything. Now we need the answers now. It's not an issue of talk right now. We are looking at more than 1,000 lives right now. We need answers. So for us, the talks are going, but they are slow. So that is the response now. Talks are going, but the response is very slow.
Benjamin, I can understand that these are very tough times, and I love what you said, that you're just trying to be human, and I see that you're very composed and you're very strong in your mind. But other colleagues of yours may not be able to do the same. Have you by any chance received any psychological help from even your school management, or even here from Ghana?
Well, yes, from Ghana, yes. But if you say school management, I think that they have only given us measures to take.
Okay.
And then these are things that we are following. So that is the situation, because these officials themselves are not in their offices. Everybody is trying to find a place for him or herself. So I think communication between us and school authorities hasn't been that smooth. The only psychological help, he said, is from Ghana, because parents will be calling, authorities in different facets of life, spiritual, social, academic, are all calling and trying to ask you and encourage you that you are maybe you are a human, and of course you are a leader, so you need to be composed, and these are the measures to take. So for us, that is the help that we are getting. And of course also governmental officials, of course, have also called us and encouraged us one way or the other. So yeah.
After all is said and done, if you ever have to come back home to wait for all this to die down, would you ever go back to Ukraine to study?
Well, the first reason why we came to this place is to get the certificate. So if we come back home and then we realize that the situation is at peace, and then we can continue, of course, we'll come back for the pink sheet, and then when we are done, we'll move out of the country. So
I see. Benjamin, what is your worst fear now?
our worst fear is that people will not be evacuated out of the country. Our worst fear is basically the lives of the Ghanaian students that are here. We are hoping that all the Ghanaian students will be out of the country, because normally in a case of war, regardless of who wins, there are always casualties on each side. Right. If I go to the Bible, for example, Israel will go for a war, they will win, but definitely there will be people that will die. In the celebration of the war, people are celebrating, but there are families who have got their brothers who have been hurt by the war. So this is what we want to avoid. We don't know who is winning. We hope that the city, of course, Ukraine will win, but we Ghanaians are not going to be the casualties in this war. So that is our biggest fear. We want to get into safety. When Ukraine wins, of course, we would. I mean, we are hoping that they win. We are supporting them, but Ghanaian students should not be the casualties in the event of we winning or losing. That is our biggest fear.
You mentioned that your school has given you directives to follow. What are these directives?
The directives involve getting what we call an emergency bag. Of course, this one came from the Ghanaian Student Union first, and then I would say it was more of a confirmation from the school authorities. Get an emergency bag. The emergency bag means that you are to have your certificate. Talk about if you came here by WASI certificate, you have that certificate. If you're a postgraduate student, have your university certificate with you. Then, of course, carry your passports as well. You carry your resident permit, which in Ukraine we call the post-reka, because it's cold. Also carry thermal wears that can keep you a bit insulated against the cold. Then you get water and a few groceries with you, and this can keep you for the time being with wherever you will be. So
interesting. Now I'm interested in what Dr. Kujo said, the psychological support. Yes, your parents are calling, pastors are calling, leaders from all sides are calling, but they also saying that the Union of Global Students have psychologists available. Have they reached out to you, and what has been their response so far?
Yes, we are always in the Global Union of Ghanaian Students have always been supportive. So they have come to us, we have communicated at the various levels. And so we know that they have offered a helping hand. And I see my senior, the vice president of the Global Union of Ghana Students here. So yes, we have received support from them in various forms, and we are very grateful.
Mr. Boatin, thank you. Mr. Pobi, you have the final word on this from the digital side. We'll come back to you again, but let's hear from you, Mr. Pobi. At this point, listening to Benjamin, what do you say? Oh, well, technology gave up on us.
Technology is failing us already.
We'll give up. Well, General Secretary told us that the internet is misbehaving.
Yeah.
So now we see the outlook there.
Very bleak.
But he looks very strong.
Yes.
Yeah.
He sounds very positive.
Yes, because he's been doing a lot of media work and meetings. We've been on meetings with them. The past 48 hours has been because every hour there's a new development.
You guys have not slept.
Is it a development of hope?
No.
It's not.
No.
So he's just trying to keep strong.
Yes, you have to keep strong at this point, because if psychologically you are not strong, then even the psychology aspect will weigh you down, even compared to the issue on the ground. So I think he's a very strong young man.
Yeah.
He's trying to smile through the difficult times and try to find the positives. So.
Wow.
Prince. The question I asked Benjamin, so Mr. Pobi is, Kojo is back. Would we take our last words from
well, Mr. Pobi, thank you for joining us again. I'm asking, you heard Benjamin and you heard him narrate to you blow by blow account of what has been happening there. What do you say?
I think that at this point, we need the diplomatic conversations to really go high. We need the government to be highly proactive, because our students are suffering. They are going through a lot. It's very cold out there, so staying out there and in the holes or in the tunnels where they are, it gets very cold, because sometimes they don't have entrances. So when the cold air enters, everything stays down there. So at this point, we really want the government to do everything in its power to be able to get them out. If it's by land to neighboring countries, so they fly them out. We are hoping and trusting the government to do that for us.
Your cabinet is in a meeting now. They say they are thinking about it.
I think they should have a solution by now. They shouldn't think. They should be having solutions by now. and how to go about with the solution. That is the most important now.
I'm sure you had. Sorry, go ahead.
But thinking, we can keep thinking, but I think it's time for action.
Okay.
I'm sure you heard on the floor of Parliament the majority leader, deputy majority leader, suggesting that the e-levy, which government intends to impose on Ghanaians to raise funds, is, if you will, a prerequisite to getting your brothers and sisters in Ukraine out of harm's way. What do you say?
I think it shouldn't be so. I think at this point, we should drop all conversations about e-levy and whatnot policies we have. However, even if the country doesn't have money, however they are going to raise money to get our brothers and sisters out of Ukraine is the most important at this moment. We don't have to be politicizing this issue because it's not political. It's a reality on the ground.
Doc, e-levy matters arising.
It's e-levy shouldn't even be an issue we should be mentioning at this time. Because even if it's passed today, how long will it take us to generate that money? It's going to be a long time. You see, what I also want to say is that I think that the whole thing about our students in diaspora, we're not paying attention to it. We have over 30,000 students. You make calls to education ministry and they're not, they will tell you foreign affairs. But the reality is foreign affairs, even aside these disasters, students going about, that's a whole university, 30,000 plus Ghanaian students. How shall we, the schools they are going, what they are learning, and others? I think that we need to really look at the whole education in the diaspora file, because 2 years ago we were talking of China, and
that's
then
right.
Here we are talking of Ukraine and Russia. So I think that the education ministry must stand up to Ghanaian students in the diaspora.
You think we are not prepared for any of these things? We are not
Not at all.
disaster ready?
Not at all. And let me give you, a year ago, it was horrible in Sudan. Probably that news didn't come. We had students who walked across the desert during the COVID.
Ghanaian students?
Yes. If I want to tell you what some of the ladies in Sudan went through, it was very horrible.
Share. Our leaders are watching now.
Yes, share.
Tell them.
At a point, it got to us that some of our ladies, because they couldn't even get food. Now, the thing was they were promised scholarships. They get them, the scholarships don't exist.
The stipends don't come.
Don't come. Of course, not from Ghana government, but from private and then the states in which they are.
Right.
So this was how I was talking about the education ministry standing up to diaspora education. So when they get, what do they do? And there was COVID. They can't work. These are Islamic nations. Some of them were told how to get into soft trade business.
They were prostituting.
Yes, to survive.
Just to be able to
Students
eat.
had to cross the desert, find car, back to Ghana. So this was not the first time, this is not the second time. All our Ghanaians cannot go to school in Ghana. We'll have students going to school in diaspora. And these things are bound to happen.
So you're suggesting a policy rework, fine-tune it so that it can encompass everybody.
Completely. So that when there is a problem with the students in diaspora, we know straight who to. And for me, yes, we are outside. Foreign affairs as response. But I think the whole thing about foreign affairs, they will not be able to check on the complete policy of education for the Ghanaian students in diaspora. So you think it must be the
Ministry of Education?
The Ministry of Education must stand up to that.
Prince, do you share the same sentiment?
Definitely, because some of the things, we go through, when even you are trying to, get through to authority here, you can send an email, and it will take like a month.
For you to get a reply?
Yeah.
Really?
Just to a simple email?
Yeah.
Sometimes you are even told the decisions must come from, this is the problem, the decisions must come from Accra. So the embassy will confirm receiving your email, but they'll tell you the decisions must come from Accra.
So you're in China.
Yeah.
You write to the consulate there,
Yes.
or the mission there.
Yes.
And then you make a specific request, or you tell them what the problem is.
Yes.
They say it must come to Accra.
Accra.
So that they can get you the response.
A good example is
within
when-
that time, what do you do?
A good example is when students get sick. And sometimes we have to get bills of about $30,000 for their treatment. For me personally, I want to say Edward Boateng, Honorable His Excellency Edward Boateng is an amazing person. He would always come in himself to support as much as he can. But from other nations, you don't get response. And then things get worse. We've lost students. Last year, we lost somebody in India in the process of trying to raise funds. It's happened over and over again. And sometimes the embassy supports personally from their pocket, telling you we have to wait till
For Accra.
and there's an information from the Foreign Affairs Ministry in Accra. But like we said, any student traveling out, there are these major components. Yes, the person has a diplomatic side, which has to do with the Foreign Affairs Ministry.
Right.
The education side, which is with the Education Ministry. The health, which is with the Health Ministry. So we need to look at a whole comprehensive package for our students who are leaving the country. If not, we will continue having this issue over and over and over again. And it's just starting.
But most students also travel based on hope. So you secure the scholarship, but then you are told to travel, start the studies, and then the rest will kick in. When you are stuck in the middle, what do you do?
Yeah, so that is where people have to sometimes miss classes to work. Some have to call on their parents. Some, they have to drop out of school completely. In China, we've had cases where the school refuses to give them visa, like he said. If you don't pay your fees, they won't give you the visa. They become illegal immigrants. They are arrested, jailed for some months, and then deported. So it's a whole complex thing.
But then the whole motive is to go, learn, come back, and serve your nation.
Yes.
Wow. What a way to secure patriotism. Mr. Boateng, let me take your closing thoughts, and Mr. Pobi as well, your closing thoughts on this whole matter. Yes, we're looking for a decision to be made at this point for people to be evacuated. We have seen the shelters. You have spoken about your real challenges. But what do you leave us with? Mr. Boateng, you first.
Well, for me, I would encourage all Ghanaian students that are present in Ukraine right now to be extra vigilant. And then wherever you are, please make sure that you are in constant communication with the leaders on the ground, so that if there are any routes for you to leave quickly, you follow these guidelines and then you get yourself to safety. Also make sure that if you want to go out, you are working in pairs, or in groups, because it's not advisable for you to leave alone. And then the last thing we will say is that we are hopeful, of course, unto our Maker. He has answers to everything. The Bible tells us that Daniel and his 3 friends, they were in a foreign land. And even in the burning furnace, Christ joined them. That same God of Old Testament is the same God of the New Testament. And we believe and we are confident in him that he will get us out of safety. So that will be ours. Ours is to work, to apply the principle of the Bible. Faith without works is dead. We have faith, but again, we must work. We must follow procedures and make sure that if we have the opportunity to leave the country, either by governmental means or by our own means, we need to take it. And hopefully, the last thing I'll say is this too shall pass.
This too shall pass.
He's a strong guy.
Yeah, he's a strong guy. I like his. He's a good PR. I like his disposition.
Yeah.
Mr. Pobi, your closing thoughts.
So I would just encourage all my brothers and sisters out there, especially in Ukraine, to stay strong, stay focused, and stay together. At this point, the togetherness is very, very important. We need to stay close so that in the case of anything, we know what to do. And we'll be asking and seeking and hoping that the government also is able to do something quickly. We keep praying that should surely happen. So we are hoping that in the coming hours, the conversations would yield positive answers. So let's just stay calm, and we are sure everything will be fine.
I hear you.
Kojo Pobi, he's the president, National Union of Ghanaian Students in Russia. Thank you for joining us. And then
and with him was
Danso. And that was Benjamin
Boateng.
Yeah, Benjamin Boateng. He's the
PRO of NUGS Ukraine. In studio is Dr. and also Mr.
Julius
Danso.
Kojo, Vice President, Global Union of Ghanaian Scholars, and former NUGS President, China. And then Prince Danso, General Secretary, National Union of Ghanaian Students.
I think it's only fair we pick their closing thought as well. Hear from him. General Secretary.
Okay, so first of all, I'll plead with the general public as well. If anybody wants to support us, they can contact me the little they can, so that we can.
What is the number to call or email or whatever it is?
My number is 0544 681318. Again. 0544 681318.
Is there an email? Maybe somebody's watching internationally.
And an email is profprince38@gmail.com.
Say that again.
Profprince38@gmail.com.
Okay.
And then because they have been in Hakko, for instance, as at last night at around 8 p.m. there was shortage of bread and then as well as water at a specific location. So we'll have to do all we could to make sure our people are safe. And yes, to the leaders, you have to act. Let's be proactive. We shouldn't wait for emergencies to happen before we go discuss. Let's be proactive. That's what we are lacking as Africans. Thank you.
Doc.
Yes, so starting from where he ended, the proactiveness. We don't want to sit down thinking that the nearby countries, Poland, Bulgaria, Romania, that also have Ghanaian students are very safe. As we can see, war spreads out easily. Somebody saying, I support this person, can turn things the other way. So let's be proactive. Let's understand that even in Russia, our students are not safe. We don't want to get to that point where we'll come and sit again and say the airspaces have been shut down. We need to have a clear roadmap. At what point do we say that, no, let our students come back? For us, it's very important. And like he said, our students need, basically, they are not going to get the things. The things they have now, only God knows how long. You know the Ghanaian culture of don't buy every day. You buy them for a few days, maybe for the whole week. So some of them have things down for the week. It's getting to weekends that ideally they wouldn't have gone to lectures and go out to shop. But now they won't have that access. So it's a very worrying situation for us, as even at the level of Gooks. And so, like he said, we are whoever wants to support them. Even if they get the money, we just don't know how they are going to get the food stuff.
It happened to you in China.
Yes. So, and in China, at least flights were traveling, we could get these things to them.
But
now we
don't know.
The
airspace is shut down.
Maybe unless he has to be on Ghanaian forces because the military airspaces are still running. So we just have to find a way to get assistance to them as it is. But we still think that let's assess the evacuation by road and see how feasible that would be.
Okay. Doc, thank you very much. Prince Danso, thank you very much. And this is adding our voice to the appeals that have been made by the students, both stranded and those who are standing in solidarity with them across the world. This is to our leadership in this country and across the world as well. They're tired of the talks. They want to see you act. They know that you like to meet. They say enough of the meetings. They want you to be proactive. They want you to save lives, and they want you to preserve it, because they will come back to be part of our intellectual society. And all across the world, any country's development is hinged heavily on their intellectual society. We're in the information technology and artificial intelligence moment now. That's what they are out there to learn. We can't waste their talents, and we can't have them wasted. So this is a wake-up call. The coffee is brewing. Let's smell it. We'll see you after the break.